What is up, Vulkan Node community? So Nathan B here with a video on AWS this time, and really looking at all the savings plans that we're going to be looking at potentially implementing in MainNet. So everything I'm going to talk about today is not something that you're going to commit to in a testnet implementation. It's going to be really once your mainnet node is set up and deployed on the network as a validator. And even maybe an option might be to look at doing this a month later. It really, I'm going to break this down for everyone today on this video. As you can see here, I've got like 1 to 5 options here around AWS and all their savings plans. So it gets quite confusing, I would say. And so my goal here is to really just do a process of elimination here and go through and knock out a few of these and look at what would be the ideal one to pick, talk to those points, give you my advice, what I would do. Look at the pay up front, 1 year, 3 year contracts. What does that mean? I'm going to break it all down in this video. I think it's going to be a good one. So sit back and let's bring up the portal and have a look. All right, well, I'm in the AWS portal now. And the first thing I want to do is just look at the instance type. You can see here that we are selecting that C5.extra large, which is our for virtual CPU, 8 gig of physical memory. I think this is the one that Esso had in his video. And so that's what we're going to base a lot of the work on here, is that instance type. Okay. Now, if I jump across to this next tab here, this is going to be the pricing calculator for AWS. All right. Now I'm going to select my region here, so you're going to select your particular region to look at the options in that region. Shared instance is good for now. Linux operating system makes sense. You can add 1 or 2 nodes depending on how many you've got and what you want to do. So what I want to do here is go to that C5, 4 CPUs, 8 gig of RAM, and that gives us this one here. So I'm going to select that C5 extra large. All right, let's scroll down here, and now we are going to see some different options here. Okay, now the selections here, these are all our savings plans here. This is not something that you select when you deploy your instance to mainnet in AWS, so you wouldn't have seen this. It's not something to do. It's something you do later. Okay, not now, not through to the deployment. Even with mainnet, through this screen that might be familiar, if you went through and deployed your instance, nowhere in here you select a savings plan. Is my point here. Okay, but let's look at all the savings plans options and go through them. And I'm going to use a process of elimination here to get to where we want to go. So you can see here that my instance type is the one for the Vulkan node, and the operating system is Linux. Good. I'm going to select this first one here, which is on demand. This is the default option that we have. If you just deploy the instance, it's going to be on demand, which means that you pay as you go. Okay, you've got your $124.10 here per month. That's how much you're going to pay if you just run that for the entire month. If you have add-ons like a static IP, elastic IP, then you're going to pay extra for that. But this is just pay as you go, right? Default. All right, so I'm going to move across to this spot instance here. This spot instance is not an option for us. This is really an option for users that they want to bring up something maybe temporarily. In the case of some sort of burst of needing more resources and then reserving or spotting an instance to come up at those times when we need more load or something like that. So Our Vulkan nodes are just going to run 25/7, so this option is just not for us at all. If we look under here, we have this option here, other purchasing options, and you've got standard, reservation, instance, and convertible. These are, I would say, legacy options that AWS have, that were the first savings plans that they rolled out. That's why they're kind of hidden. They give you less of a, or maybe the same discount, but AWS recommend that we don't use these ones anymore. That's why they hide them as well. It's to look at these two options up here. All right, and yeah, so out of these two, we've kind of come down to just two now. All right, the compute saving plan is something where, like a business, if they have multiple compute instances running in a subscription in an account in AWS, they will have one plan that, as it says here, that automatically applies to all EC2 instances. So it's kind of this one plan that saves you less, but you can do it more broadly across multiple instances. Again, we're probably in, I don't know, 85-90% of the case, single instance, one Vulkan node deployment. So this one is a less of a discount, and so it's not going to be for us. Even with someone that has 2, 3, or 4, it's better to create separate savings plans and just use this next option, which I'm going to show you. So we've come down to this one. This one is the one that I suggest that we pick for 1, 2, 3, or 4, etc. Is this EC2 instant savings plan. Okay, it gives us the best discount, and yeah, so it's this one here. And you can see here that the on-demand price at that $124 per month is a lot more than the, selecting the 1 year no upfront costs of $78 just for the instance. A lot cheaper. So, all right, if we go down within the reservation term itself, you just have these two options. You can see you got 1 or 3 year. You can see 3 year does drop us down a lot, and I'll come back to that, but 1 year, and then you've got the no upfront, which is what it says. You just pay per month at that $78.11. You can do a partial, pay your $450 close to, and then you pay your $37.23 a month. Or you can pay it all at $8 for a year. You can do the $876 and get it all done, and you have no cost per month at all. So it's like, let's throw around some ideas here on what looks good. Now, first, what I'll say is that when you go into one of these reservation terms, there's no changing of the contractor terms and things like that. So what you select in the savings plan, you are locked in for that period, and also the payment option, you're locked in. So, for example, if you say, okay, I'm going to do the 1 year reservation, I'm going to do the partial, that's all locked in. You need to pay that amount, and then you're going to pay $37.23 for the 12 months. If you need to get out of it, you can't. I mean, you're locked into it. If you need to change the instance type, you can't either. Okay, so that's one thing to consider, and that's kind of where I'm leading into that. What would be the best option for us? Well, here's one thought. When we go into MainNet and we deploy, as I said, you're going to deploy at the 124. What I probably would suggest as an option is to run with that for a month. Okay, get a feel of, the blockchain in general, how things are going. Pay you 124, and then after that, or during that month, then start to think about putting this in a savings plan. Especially if you have a lot of confidence, which we should in the blockchain and things like that. But also, is the instance type, because remember we can't change that, is that C5 extra large, performing well enough? Hopefully there's a lot of load and that we may need to increase that, but I don't think so. I think that's going to be enough for the first year. But so as we go in the first month, we'll be able to get a better idea of that. We don't know that yet. It's a guess, okay? So once we know that is large enough, then you can make that decision and go, okay, I'm going to lock this up for a year. I feel good. It's performing well. It's performing at 40%, 30% of its capacity. I'm going to lock it up for a year, and then I'm going to decide on one of these, depending on what you want to do. You can take all the money up and pay your $876, and you're done for a year, and you got no monthly payments, or you can do a partial. Again, that piece is up to you. So just remember, if you go into these contracts, you can't change it. You're locked in, and you cannot scale up the VM for a year. That's why I personally wouldn't pick the 3 years. Is because that's too long out. I know the BSC chain, they scale up their nodes. They did from the start. They're now running on not shared resources. Like here, they're running on dedicated hosts, okay? And I hope we get to that. But if you're locked in for 3 years, you're paying this and, All right, so let's move on to the next tab here. Right, compute savings plans. Okay, so now that we know that we're going to do the EC2 instance savings plan, that's the best options for us. I'm going to look at the different regions and make sure that that covers all the regions that you may be deploying to. And so I'm going to select my location type here as a region, and I'm going to select maybe the East US here, and we can look at the saving percentage as well and see if it varies between different regions as too. So 1 year, I'm going to go with 1 year as my suggestion. I can do a partial up front somewhere in the middle as well. Let's try that C5 instance, Linux shared, and that is all the settings. Okay. C5, this is our option here, extra large, and you can see that I'm at a 40% savings on the on-demand, okay, 40%. Now, the only thing I'm going to change here is just the region to see if this percentage drops depending on, I guess, the continent. Well, let me jump up into maybe Canada first. Let's have a look there. Again, the C5 looks at 40%, good. Let's have a look in Africa. Okay, it's still 40%, so it looks like they don't change the percentage. Let's go in Australia, so 40% there. And let's go to maybe 2 more, London. Yep, still 40%, so it looks like that is the case. I'll do one more in maybe this one in Stockholm. So, yep, 40%. Okay. So one thing there is that you're able to see that they're available. The EC2 instant saving plan is available in those different regions, and also the percentage doesn't change at all. Okay, I got another tab here that I found, again an official AWS site. And what interests me here is, I'll put all these links in the description, but what should I consider before purchasing a savings plan? So very important question here. And there's some, yep. So the one I was interested here is this, let me make that a little larger. Canceling and or I guess modifying a savings plan. You can see here, savings plans cannot be modified or canceled. Okay, so that was my point before, that when you go into one of these savings plans, that the costs have to be okay with what you select. You have to think about what you're doing, but also think about scaling up. If we need to scale up, then you can't do it because you can't modify the instance. And that's a concern to me for the 3-year plan. The 1-year plan, we'll be able to answer that, as I said, in the first month. But the 3-year, I personally wouldn't be doing that. Unless we notice that we're using 2% on a node when it comes to the resources at C5 extra large, then you could do it. But again, let's just wait till it gets launched, and I'll be able to answer that in a better way. Yeah, the next thing is, how do I do this? Okay, how do I enable a savings plan? And I said that when you actually launch the instance in MainNet, and you go through these steps, or it's scripted or whatever, it's not through here. So where it's going to be is, if you go under the instance section here, you've got savings plans. Okay, so it says here, purchase a savings plan. And this option here, and here is where you do it. Okay, so this is, remember, the EC2 instant savings plan. You're going to select that. You're going to pick your region and your amount of time there. I'm just going to pick something here. And yeah, so what we were C5. And then, once you pick, what you want to do here, you can pick a start date as well, but you'll, once the instance, I'll have the instance, there should be another drop down here that I pick my actual instance, my single instance for my mainnet, and then you'll enable it. You'll commit. There's probably, I can't do this, but there is going to be an option here where you have to approve it and different things and commit, and there's probably a contract and different things. But that's how you do it. So the main point here is just, it's not done at the start. We're in on demand, but then eventually you'll come in here and pick it as an extra step. So I think that is all I wanted to cover for the AWS savings plan options here. This is our EC2 instant savings plan. I hope that made sense. I'm going to do one on Azure next, for all the Azure folks, deploying into MainNet, focused on the same concept around savings plans. So until that video, until next time, thanks for watching. Bye for now.